NASCAR champion Kyle Busch, his family revealing he died from severe pneumonia that then progressed into sepsis.
There are moments in sports that stop everything. Moments where the noise of competition, the rivalries, the standings, the championship points, all of it just disappears. What NASCAR experienced on May 21st, 2026 was exactly that kind of moment. Kyle Busch, two-time Cup Series champion. The winningest driver in NASCAR Truck Series history, a man who had spent over 2 decades making fans either love him or hate him with equal passion, was gone. 41 years old. Gone from a sinus cold that turned into something nobody saw coming fast enough to stop it. But in the hours and days that followed his death, it was not the statistics or the championship banners that broke people. It was the details. The small, quiet, deeply human details that Dale Earnhardt Jr. shared with the world. Details about a friendship that had been rebuilt from the wreckage of one of the most intense rivalries in modern racing history. And when Dale spoke, the entire NASCAR world went silent and listened. To understand why Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s words hit so hard, you first have to understand what these two men meant to each other for the better part of a decade. And it was not good. From roughly 2005 through 2017, Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. represented two very different versions of NASCAR. Dale was the sport's most beloved figure, carrying his father's legacy, beloved by millions who saw him as the emotional heartbeat of the garage. Kyle was the villain, brilliant, unapologetic, ruthless on the track, and completely unbothered by anyone who had a problem with it. They clashed on the track constantly. They took shots at each other in interviews. The 2007 incident at Richmond, where things boiled over in a way that went beyond typical racing friction, became one of the most talked about moments of that entire era. And then came the move that added a deeply personal layer to everything. When Rick Hendrick made the decision to release Kyle from Hendrick Motorsports after the 2007 season, specifically to make room for Dale Jr. on the roster, it created a wound that did not heal quickly. Kyle lost one of the best rides in NASCAR. Dale took his spot. And for years after that, both men carried that history into every garage they shared. Fans knew about the rivalry. They saw it play out publicly. What they did not know was what happened behind closed doors when two proud, competitive men finally decided they were tired of the weight of it. In his tribute posted on social media in the hours after Kyle's death was confirmed, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did something that nobody expected. He did not offer a standard memorial. He told a story, a real one, the kind that only gets shared when someone is gone, and you realize the world deserves to know who they actually were. Dale revealed that Kyle was the one who reached across the divide first. Not Dale. Kyle. He walked into Dale's motorhome one day and started a conversation. Not about the past, not about Richmond, not about Hendrick Motorsports, but about how they each ran their racing operations. It was a professional question wrapped in a personal gesture. It was Kyle Busch saying, without ever saying the words out loud, that he wanted something different between them. That conversation became a door. And once it was open, both men walked through it. Dale wrote that they began doing media appearances together, sitting side by side and actually laughing about the things they had put each other through over the years. Think about what that takes. These were not two men who had a minor disagreement. These were two men whose friction had been televised, dissected, and turned into talking points for years. And yet there they were, laughing about it, finding the humanity in it, choosing to let it become something they shared rather than something that kept them apart. And then Dale shared the detail that truly stopped the internet cold. He revealed that in the weeks before Kyle's death, the two of them had been in active conversations about something genuinely exciting. Dale had extended an invitation for Kyle to drive one of his late model cars at North Wilkesboro Speedway that summer, the legendary old track that had been brought back to life and had quickly become one of the most beloved events on the calendar. Kyle had said yes. More than yes. He was genuinely excited about it. They had scheduled a meeting for Thursday, May 29th. The plan was for Kyle to come into the JR Motorsports shop so they could get his seat fitted in the car. Kyle, according to Dale, had actually laughed about the idea of it. He thought it was hilarious and wonderful that his own fans and Dale's fans would have to put aside whatever was left of that old rivalry and cheer for the same driver in the same race. He loved the idea of it. He was looking forward to it. Kyle Busch died on May 21st, 2026, 8 days before that Thursday appointment. 8 days away from what would have been one of the most talked about feel-good storylines in NASCAR in years. The greatest rivalry of a generation was not going to end with a dramatic last-lap crash or a heated post-race confrontation. It was going to end with two old rivals laughing together in a race shop, getting a seat fitted in a late model car, and giving their fans something to smile about. It ended instead with a text thread and a Thursday that will never come. What makes Kyle Busch's death so deeply unsettling is not just the loss itself. It is the timeline. When you lay out the 11 days between the first sign that something was wrong and the morning the world received the worst possible news, it reads like something that simply should not have been possible. On Sunday, May 10th, Kyle was racing the Cup Series event at Watkins Glen International in upstate New York, driving the number 8 Chevrolet for Richard Childress Racing. He was having one of his best runs of the entire 2026 season, running inside the top 10, showing the kind of speed that reminded people of the Kyle Busch from the Joe Gibbs racing years. And then, with a few laps remaining, he keyed his radio and asked his team to locate a specific physician, Dr. Bill Heisel at Ortho Carolina, and have him waiting at his motorhome after the race. Kyle said he needed a shot. His crew chief asked whether he wanted the doctor at the car or at the motorhome. Kyle said the motorhome. The exchange went out live on the Fox Sports broadcast and was explained to viewers as a routine sinus issue. Kyle had been dealing with a cold all week, and Watkins Glen is a demanding road course with significant elevation changes and high G-forces that amplify any kind of head or sinus pressure. He finished the race in 8th place, his best result of the season. Everyone moved on. But Dr. Bill Heisel is not a casual track physician. He is the director of motorsports medicine at Ortho Carolina and has been the most trusted medical resource in the NASCAR garage for over a decade. When a driver calls for him by name during a race, it means they know exactly what they need and exactly who can provide it. Kyle knew. And that was also the day his daughter Lennox turned 4 years old. Her father was at a racetrack 2 states away, asking for medical help, while she was home blowing out birthday candles. 5 days later, on Friday, May 15th, Kyle showed up at Dover Motor Speedway and put on one of the most dominant performances of his entire career. He qualified on the pole. He swept both stages. He led 147 of 200 laps and crossed the finish line more than 3 seconds ahead of his closest competitor. He won his 69th career Truck Series victory, a record that stands in a category entirely its own. After the race, in a Victory Lane interview, a Fox Sports reporter asked him why winning never gets old. His answer, viewed in hindsight, carries a weight that simply takes your breath away. He said you take whatever you can get because you never know when the last one is going to be, so you cherish them all. He said it with a smile, like a man who had been grinding through a difficult stretch in Cup and was genuinely grateful to be back in Victory Lane. In a follow-up press scrum minutes later, a reporter asked how many more wins he wanted. He said the same thing again. You never know when the last one is going to be. On Monday, May 18th, Kyle's son Brexton turned 11 years old. Kyle posted a carousel of photos on Instagram. Brexton at racetracks, in victory lanes, growing up in the world his father had built. The caption was a father's pride in its purest form. He and Samantha were so proud of who Brexton was becoming, and he wrote that there was no limit to what the kid could accomplish. That post is still on his Instagram page. It was his last one. His wife, Samantha, posted her own tribute to Brexton that same day, writing about watching him grow into a driven, kind-hearted, funny young man. She wrote that no matter how tall he got or how fast he drove, he would always be her baby. 3 days later, she would lose her husband. On Tuesday, May 19th, Kyle took Brexton to Durham, North Carolina for the grand opening of an Andretti indoor karting facility. Mario Andretti himself was there. An attendee at the event later told a local news station that he saw Kyle and Brexton playing arcade games together in a way that was impossible not to notice. Two people completely present with each other, completely in their own world. The witness said he did not want to interrupt them because the moment felt too private and too real. Kyle was laughing. He was there. He was a father with his son. Mario Andretti later pulled out his phone at Indianapolis Motor Speedway the following day and showed reporters a video he had taken at that very event. Kyle smiling, shaking his hand, full of life. Andretti said the news hit him like a shock he could not fully process. He said everybody knew Rowdy, and that Kyle had a way of bringing a smile to any room he walked into. That was Tuesday. Less than 24 hours later, Kyle Busch was on a bathroom floor coughing up blood, waiting for paramedics to arrive. On Wednesday, May 20th, Kyle drove to the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center in Concord, North Carolina for simulator work, a completely routine part of his weekly schedule. Chevrolet teams use that facility regularly for engineering and race preparation. There was N.